So I've marked out where I want to cut the pearl. So now it's a question of holding the shell steady. This pearl bluntens jeweler's saw blades very quickly, so I'm going to start off with a new one and see how far I get. This particular pearl comes from the ormer sea snail, which breeds around the Channel Islands, and this pearl was used a lot by the mid-19th century French bow makers. A finished piece will be very, very thin, but it's extremely hard wearing and looks really amazing. So I like to just offer a nod to the French makers with my making and use the same type of pearl. Let's see. Particularly stubborn piece of shell. And there we have the piece of pearl that we're going to use as the pearl slide for the frog. It seems quite thick, but because of the undulations on top and bottom, by the time I've ground it flat, it will actually be very thin indeed, about 0.3 or 0.4 millimeters thick. I've got a diamond stone here, very coarse grit diamond stone, perfect for working on pearl. I just wet it and then take a piece of pearl, let it find its own, where it feels flattest, and just start working it up and down, and every few seconds I'll just stop, have a little feel where it's ground flat. There's a big dip. I'm going to have to do a lot of work before I can get the final surface completely flat. I'm flat on most of it now. It's still a little indentation in here, and it does need to be completely flat, otherwise it just doesn't look right on the bow. I can't fill it with anything, it's got to be right. Because pearl is a natural product, you never really know what it's going to look like until you're there. Sometimes it can have the most amazing cross-weaving flame of pearl. It's absolutely amazing. We're really close. Probably one more pass on the stone. Yeah, we're flat now, I can see. This is quite a gentle, understated sort of flame. Very, very nice, very attractive, typical ormer. So the next stage is to take the shell off the back. This is very, very hard, so it'll take a little while. It's also hard to hold. The uppermost parts of the ridges are just coming off. We're getting a fair way through the shell now. It's still over 1 millimeter thick here, plenty of depth to play with still. The residue is quite slippery, so I have to keep rinsing it off. One thing about pearl is it always has two sides. We've got one side we can see what it looks like at the moment. It's got this nice gentle iridescence. The other side that we're still working on was more furrowed. Where you get these undulations, these furrows, you also get more flame in the pearl. So it may be that when we've finished grinding this down flat, this might end up as the surface to use. We'll just compare them when I've got them finished. Let's see how we're doing. Here is the surface now. I've got rid of almost all the shells, a tiny bit on the end. That won't interfere with the area that we need. I think actually the first surface looks a little bit nicer than this one. This has got a little bit more ripple to it, but in certain angles it seems to look a bit flat. This looks more iridescent all around. You can see how thin it is now. It's probably about 0.5 millimeter thick, which is a decent sort of thickness for ormer actually. You often have to go a little bit thinner than that, so we can work with this. Great.